my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no given. Some days I don't hit, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. They don't want it when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem. I ain't perfect. Let them watch me elevating.
What's good, baby? It's your partner looking oh so fresco clean. You see it? Now take that damn picture. And you guys, welcome to the Countermove podcast this Thursday, guys, where we look at life from a wise perspective. We begin to look at the problems going on, lean in and reason together, and then we together prescribe the wisest solution, guys. But before we dive into our topic today, if you could, no matter what platform that you're on, click on that subscribe and notification button so that you don't miss any of our Countermove podcast period, whether it be our shorts as well as the long form. So, guys, let's dive into this topic. Now, guys, something historic happened this past week. We had a new Congress sworn in, as well as whenever you get a new Congress sworn in, you normally have a Speaker of the House that's elected by the masses. And typically, the side of the aisle that actually has the majority of the representative normally votes in the Speaker that they want. Well, this time, the Republicans actually hold the majority in the House and in the U.S. House, and they were voting on the Speaker. And it was pretty historic as well, guys. It went on for a long period of time, guys, and I do believe it was 15 votes. And finally, we actually have a Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Okay. Now, because of this whole scenario, I wanted to kind of dive in and lean in because I was getting a lot of dialogue on both sides of the aisle about the context of the presentation of what was going on. So here's the question on the table, guys. The Speaker vote. Was it democracy in action or was it dysfunctional? Let's lean and reason together, guys. I thought it'd be wise, guys, for us to dive in and look at definitions of terms and definitions, guys. So let's define a representative democracy, not just a democracy, but a representative democracy. Let's define this real quickly. Let's go here and let's look at it. I'll make it bigger for everybody on the screen so you can see what's going down real fast. All right, give me 1 second. I want to make sure we understand what's going on. This is a representative democracy, which is what we have. We have a representative democracy. Here we go. Representative democracy is a government system that creates an extra stage between public votes and law creation. Okay. Instead of you voting for laws, citizens elect officials to craft, debate, that's the key word, the debate, and sign laws. Okay. The idea is that the citizens trust those elected politicians to carry out the will of those that elect them. That's what we have. We have a representative democracy, okay? That's what we got. So that's the definition of a representative democracy. Now, there's a key thing in there that said debate. So I thought it would be wise for us guys to begin to define the definition of debate, okay? Again, terms, definitions. I'm going to make it bigger for you guys. Don't you worry. You'll probably see what's going down. Let's look at the word debate, okay? Here's some different nuances of the word. A contention by words or arguments. So there's contention there, okay? A regulated discussion of a proposition, okay, between two matched sides, okay? Law and government. Now getting more specific, okay? The formal discussion, key formal discussion of a motion, okay, before a deliberate body, according to the rules of the parliamentary procedure, or it could be a representative a procedure as well, okay? So this is the definition of debate, and I think it matches it quite well, okay? I think that's pretty good. Now, let's look at, guys, now, the word dysfunction, because the other side of the aisle was saying it was dysfunction. You'd be talking about media, even some on the conservative side was saying this was dysfunctional. I mean, it was an interesting presentation of what was going on. So let's look at the definition of dysfunction. All right, again, terms and definitions. Here we go. All right, we're going to get out of the assumption view and get into terms definitions. Here's the definition of dysfunction. Okay, it's impaired or abnormal functioning. Okay, abnormal or unhealthy in interpersonal behavior or inaction within a group. So abnormal and unhealthy interpersonal behavior or interaction between a group. Interesting. Okay. So the key word that I see out here is abnormal and or unhealthy. Okay. Those type of environments most likely breed a type of result that we may not like. Okay. So again, that's phenomenal. I actually like those definitions, guys. We have a nice objective type of foundation to begin on, to begin to reason together. Let's look at who was actually holding this back. There were 20 Freedom Caucus members holding this back. We're going to go into what they're requesting in a second, but let's look at who they actually were. Okay, here they are. We have Andy Biggs, Dan Bishop, Lauren Boebert, Josh Burchin, Michael Cloud, Andrew Clyde, Eli Crane, Matt Gaetz, Bob Good, Paul Gosher, Andy Harris, Anna Luna, Mary Miller, Ralph Norman, Andy Ogles, Scott Perry, Matt Rosendale, Chip Roy, Keith Self. Full disclosure, that's my representative from where I'm at, as well as Byron Donaldson. So here are the 20 members that were actually initially voting against Kevin McCarthy, and they really had some demands of what they want. All right. So what were their requests real quickly? Before we actually go through this, let's look at what they actually requested. All right. Let's look at that. Let's bring in Chip Roy real quickly here. Chip Roy is going to talk about what they were requesting and what was really going on. Okay. All right. Here go Chip Roy. Okay. Here they go. And then we'll go through what they actually won. All right. Here we go. Let's look at Chip Roy and see exactly what he said. He was actually on Glenn Beck's thing, and he talked about what they were talking about. Okay. Here we go. Let's get to it. All right. Boom.
Chip Roy is with us. Talk to us about the battle for the Speaker of the House. Hello, Chip. How are you?
Glenn, I'm doing well. We're engaged in yet another series of meetings this morning. We were here until midnight last night at the Capitol, and we're going to continue to fight for the people that sent us here to fight for them.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope that America responds. I think the Karl Roves of the world are thinking that people like you are going to get a lot of calls and deluged at your office today saying, "Don't you dare! You go with Speaker McCarthy." I think the other is going to happen because I'm done, Chip. I'm done. When the Senate passed the omnibus bill, I was done. If you guys don't have
as Glenn is talking, he's communicating the displeasure that a lot of voters actually had with the omnibus bill that was passed, that was really orchestrated by the Senate. Okay, the Senate negotiated and sent it over the House in the previous Congress, and it was passed. Okay, so there's some distrust there when it comes to this whole process of getting a bill passed. Here we go.
Have the freedom to investigate and the teeth and the backbone to actually do things in the interest of all Americans.
All right.
Why did we vote for any Republicans?
Interesting.
Well, Glenn, that's the question. That is the central question. People have been asking, like, what's the message? And I tried to deliver a message on the floor of the House last night that what we're fighting for are the tools and the leadership necessary to stop the swamp from rolling over the average American who are sick and tired of seeing this town undermine their freedom, spend money we don't have, and continue to violate every promise they've ever made in the campaign. I'm going to come up and I'm going to cut spending. We're going to balance the budget.
Correct.
We're going to secure the border. Bull.
As far as what Chip Roy, and we know he's one of the 20, what he's communicating, there's a lot of displeasure for a lot of voters as well. And I can kind of shake hands with what he's actually saying. So he's actually asking for the tools he needed to stop what has been going on for a long period of time. Interesting.
You saw what happened unfold with that ridiculous $1.7 trillion bill.
Yep.
There was no real significant pushback from House leadership when Mitch McConnell stuck it to the American people, made it impossible for us to.
Now, look what he said. He actually called out another Republican, Mitch McConnell. Okay? Not a Democrat. This is a Republican called out at a Republican. Let's keep going.
Secure the border, took away our leverage, and did it so that the current D.C. establishment could get what they wanted in terms of a big spending bill for the defense complex and to jam through something that the American people didn't want.
Yeah.
That's what we have to stop, Glenn.
Okay, so
that's what this is about.
So I am with you.
So he's very clear on what the mission is concerning what these 20 Freedom Caucus members are looking to get done. He's crystal clear.
So now, will those of you who are mounting this battle, is there a compromise McCarthy could make?
Okay.
So I would have told you 48 hours ago that the answer question was yes. The problem is there is a growing group of hardcore no votes against Kevin because of the way things unfolded yesterday at the Republican conference meeting, in which Mike Rogers stood up and threatened members from losing their committees.
Wow.
And when lies were being told about what was behind the motives of members seeking, quote, petty personal privileges and being on certain committees, which was a total lie. Because members offered in good faith, all right, put me on the Appropriations Committee. I don't want to be on the Appropriations Committee, but I'll do it.
Okay.
Right? Or put me on the Rules Committee. That was me.
Okay.
I said, sure, put my name on the Rules Committee as someone who would do it, even though I don't want to fly away from my home and miss my family on Sunday night and fly up here to be here on Monday mornings to set.
This is actually good because what's happening is Chip Roy is giving us an inside peek from his perspective what's going on behind the closed doors in a negotiation. Okay, so he's making it clear on what they're trying to get accomplished. Okay.
Set the rules. And the Rules Committee is the funnel through which all things get to the floor. The fight in 1923, when there were 9 rounds of votes for the Speaker, the culmination of that was a complete change of the Rules Committee because it's so powerful. It's a secret committee kind of that nobody knows about, that just sits there and decides what bills get to the floor, what's in them, and what it looks like.
Now, this Rules Committee he's talking about, that was new information for me. It was a select group. Chip called it a secret group of people, but a select group of people that decide what come on the floor. Is that a democracy? It didn't match the definition, does it? Let's keep going.
So we had a debate about that, and then people lied about it. So now you got a bunch of members that are saying, you know what? I can't trust him. I'm not going to be able to vote for the guy. Now, that being said, Glenn, literally the conversations I had till midnight last night and this morning is trying to work in good faith on how to change the institution. I, speaking for myself, there would be a path for me to get there. But the path for me requires us to be able to control the ability of the control of the legislation that gets to the floor and stop something like that omnibus bill in December.
So hang on just a second. May I just break this down for idiots like me? I think what you're saying is, because I was stunned when I saw you all sitting in the chamber yesterday. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen that since turn of the century.
Yeah, I agree.
The problem is all of these bills are being done behind closed doors by just a small group, and then it's brought to the floor not for discussion, but for a vote, yes or no. And you want that to stop, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And we made
that is how Glenn unpacked that and how Chip Roy described that. That is not a democracy. That does not at all fit the definition on no levels. Okay? Let's keep it going, though. This is a good exchange between Glenn and Chip.
We made progress. And look, and Glenn, this is important. The progress we've made over the last 60 days to get rules is not because Kevin was standing up trying to figure out, oh, I've got these great ideas on how to make the place better. It was because some of us, 5 in particular publicly, that were no's, said they weren't going to support Kevin. And then another 7 of us signed a letter saying, here are the kinds of things we want to see change.
Okay.
That forced the conversation to get changed. Now these guys are running around saying, well, we gave you everything you want. No, you didn't. You gave us some things that will be an improvement, but you didn't give us the key things, which is what is necessary to stop big bills that the defense world and the liberals and the among Democrats jammed through. Remember and consider, Kevin voted in the minority with more Democrats than Republicans on multiple bills over the last decade.
So because of that, what this 20-member group went from 5, 7, then up to 20. What they're saying is there's a distrust that they actually had for Speaker McCarthy concerning his number one good faith and his execution on the agenda. They wanted to put some stopgaps or some checks and balances in place for that. Okay, no problem. Okay.
Since he has been in Republican leadership, the debt has gone from $11 trillion to $32 trillion.
Wow.
He voted, for example, for good Latin.
You don't need to talk. Right. I am not for.
Right.
I mean, and I get it. Tell me what the specifics are that have to be changed, because I think people need to know specifically what are we fighting for.
The key thing that I believe needs to change is that we have to have people on the Rules Committee who reflect the conservatives who send Republicans to Washington to change the town. That
sounds like a representative democracy as far as the intent that Chip Roy is talking about. That meets that definition. Okay?
Seems wonky. What is the real message? Is that we need conservatives, enough conservatives. I'm not saying put every Freedom Caucus member on there. I'm saying you need to have actual conservatives who will stand up in defense of the American people from the big spending in this town, be on the committees that actually determine what gets to the floor, combined with the changes to the rules that we are partway down the road in getting, of opening up the floor so we can have amendments and debate on the floor so that we can kill this stuff. So we're kind of halfway there, but halfway there ain't there. And so if they're not going to work with us to get us there, then that's the problem. And yesterday damaged that and may have created an environment where there's too many guys here who are saying, we can't cut a deal with Kevin. I don't know.
There seems to be some type of distrust during these negotiations between these 20 and Kevin McCarthy. And then you actually have those that supported Kevin McCarthy on him being the speaker. And the others were saying, besides, I believe 5 or 6 of them were saying, we'll get behind you, but we need this in place. And what was happening was some faction liked how things have been operating in the past. And this faction, these 20 were like, no, we got to have some stuff changed because we are a representative democracy. What they're asking for fits the definition. I got to agree with Tripp on this a little bit from a intentionality standpoint. Yeah.
No, that's what we're working through.
Is there somebody that you think everybody could agree on?
Look, I think here's the problem. If I go out and say I think person X is the guy, then that might poison person X. Got it. So we're having conversations. I promise you, there are people that would surprise you that are in the sort of center of the world around McCarthy who are having conversations openly, or I say openly, I mean privately with us, but like having conversations. But let me give you an example. I nominated yesterday 2 guys on the floor. I picked one. Byron Donalds was my first vote. Why did I pick Byron? Because Byron is a second-term congressman who is not sullied by the swamp. Successful businessman, father, conservative. He's a friend, proven track record, worked in the Florida legislature. He's a good man. The speaker doesn't have to know every ins and outs of the swamp to make it work. And in fact, we would be great. It would be a breath of fresh air to have someone who doesn't come with the taint of the swamp.
Yes.
So I picked Byron Donalds.
Interesting.
Second, I nominated Jim Jordan. He's been here longer, but he's got a history and a track record of fighting the swamp. That's the whole point. Kevin doesn't have that. Okay? So if we're cutting a deal with Kevin, we better damn well get the rules that will box him in. Otherwise, you got to have a deal with a leader who you can trust to break the swamp, to break the cartel that's destroying our country, spending money we don't have, leaving our borders open, continuing to empower bureaucrats that undermine our freedom. We have to stop it, Glenn. The tools we need have to give us the tools to stop continuing to do the same thing we've been doing over and over again. While every single Republican goes back in campaign and then comes to this godforsaken town and throws our country down the drain and undermines everything that the men and women in uniform have fought so valiantly to save our kids and our grandkids. That's
I would say this here, in ending on that concerning Chip Roy. What Chip is communicating with the intent of these 20, and as I said before, fits the definition of a representative democracy, guys. This is negotiation. Is exactly what it is. They're negotiating. Some are going outside of the conference and doing the PR thing, going in front of the camera and talk about some stuff. Both sides are doing it as well. But this is negotiations, and Chip is very clear on the intent. What they're saying is the standard of doing things in the past needs to change because as he said, the debt went from 11 to 31 trillion dollars. Okay, and there was the Speaker of the House at the time now is voted for majority for bills that actually had done that. So there's a distrust there. Uh, I believe that is good in negotiating. Okay, what they're saying, if you want Kevin, we need these things. So let's see exactly what these things are. Okay, let's go over here real quickly here and go to their demands. Okay, here are the demands that they were actually asking for from him. Okay, here were the demands. Let me make it a little bigger for you real fast. Okay, here we go. Make it a little bigger for you. We can read this thing together. All right, let's go down a little bit. It says, first demand, enact a majority of the majority rule that legislation passed in a Republican House should be supported by a majority of House Republicans to prevent leadership from cutting deals with Democrats if a bill is not supported by conservatives. Interesting. Interesting. So there's some distrust there as well, okay, of past Republicans going over to Democrats, which I'm not opposed to if the deal makes some sense, to make deals cutting the legs off of the conservative side. Okay, I understand that. Number two, restore independence of committees by electing committee chairs based on qualifications and effectiveness. Okay. Number three, diversify the steering committee so that all House Republicans can have input on committee assignments, which McCarthy has agreed to already. Cool. Okay. Number four, open the legislative process to allow for amendments. Members have not been allowed to vote on an amendment of the House floor since May of 2016. That was trash. That don't make no sense to me. Why that hadn't happened? That's a long time. And the Republican 150th Congress under then Speaker Paul Ryan broke the record for the most bills being considered without amendments. Okay. Interesting. Ensure fiscal responsibility by blocking consideration of any other bill until the House can pass appropriations bill by August the 1st. If the House cannot enact an act by September 10th, then speakers should be prevented from recessing or adjourning until it has passed a spending bill. Interesting. That lets me know in the past, most likely when the speaker adjourns the House, some deals have been cut behind the backs of conservatives. Hence, going back up to this here. Okay. All right. Interesting. Good negotiating. All right. Number four. Another one. In proxy voting, I can agree with that. Okay, no problem. Proxy voting is what Speaker Pelosi actually had. Then Speaker Pelosi actually had to where members could be gone and people are voting, giving their proxy voting right over to a few people there. I like that. It says restoring the motion to vacate the chair, so any member can offer a privileged motion to remove the speaker. I like that because of the fact that it takes for one member to file for articles of impeachment when it comes to impeaching the president. Shouldn't there be the same thing in place for the second person in line to the presidency? I think that's a good deal. Okay. restoring a requirement so that a print is made to show how legislation would change exiting laws before a bill receives a vote on the floor. Okay, eliminate the ability automatically suspending the debt ceiling without a standalone vote when the House adopts a budget resolution. Okay, hold bureaucrats accountable by restoring the Holman rule to allow House members to make targeted spending cuts in spending bills, which would even allow making targeted cuts of bureaucrats' salaries, include Dr. Fauci. Okay, I like that. Yes, sir. In secret deals requiring bills to be made available to the public 5 full days ahead of a vote and require a 2/3 threshold House vote to waive this rule. Okay. So time to read bills. Isn't that something? I like that, y'all. And lastly, ban earmarks to prevent taxpayer spending on lawmakers and lobbyists' pet projects. I agree with that, guys. I think, guys, a lot of these requests are reasonable. These are reasonable requests. What they're saying is this here. They're saying, okay, you want Kevin McCarthy. All right, no problem. You want Kevin McCarthy. I got it. You can get Kevin McCarthy, but we have to have these things in place for it to actually be done the right way. I think that's pretty reasonable. Okay, no problem. All right. Okay. Now, in this type of exchange, guys, what we were seeing a lot of members saying this here. They were saying that, man, this was dysfunctional. Okay, that's why I go back to the definition of dysfunction. It was dysfunctional. Let's see exactly what the media was actually saying about this. And some Republicans, okay? And some Republicans too, okay? So let's see what the media said about it real quickly first. And then we'll go back to our definitions. Let's see what's going down, y'all. You know, we'll get to the bottom of this. Here we go. Let's see what's going down. Let's go get it in with the people.
Block that has brought the U.S. House to a standstill is in day number 3.
Lawmakers are back voting on a new speaker for the 10th time after a group of hard-right Republicans rejected GOP leader Kevin McCarthy in 6 votes in the previous 2 days.
Nicole D'Antonio reports now from Capitol Hill.
Listen.
The House will be in order.
Disorder reigned as the House was gavelled in for a 3rd day in its historic struggle to elect a new speaker.
Okay.
Before voting kicked off Thursday, Representative-elect John James delivered a nominating speech for Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
Okay.
The issues today are over few rules and personalities.
Okay.
We need a conservative fighter to help this country get back on the right track. But the first thing we need to do is elect Leader McCarthy as Speaker of the House.
So far, McCarthy has failed to convince far-right members of his party to support his bid for Speaker. He spent part of Thursday morning meeting privately with Republicans.
Okay.
We're going to keep working until we solve it.
It's the first time in a century that a nominee for House Speaker did not sail through on the first vote. GOP House members opposing McCarthy have, for now, joined together in support of an alternative choice.
I rise to place in nomination the name of Byron Donalds of Florida.
To try and break the stalemate, McCarthy's offered concessions, including making it possible for any single House member to call for a vote to oust the Speaker. He's also proposing the holdouts pick 2 members of the key House Rules Committee, which could shape legislation once the new session gets underway.
So you see right there, guys. You see what's happening here is that's one of the ones saying that it was dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional. Okay, here's another one. Now, here is a Republican saying this now, guys. A Republican talking about it's dysfunctional, okay? This is what the media is saying. This is the media's reaction to this, okay? Here we go. This is the media reaction. Let's go ahead and get it in, my man, DB Dan Bongino. Let's go and talk to the people. Uh-oh, here we go. There we go. Let's get it in. Boom.
Check this out.
Institution of rules.
Well, Byron Donalds is running. Byron Donalds is running. And you don't think he's a credible candidate?
He started 5 minutes ago. And no, he's not a credible candidate. He's a freshman who started 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
That's not running. He didn't raise hundreds of millions of dollars to win the Republican majority in multiple election cycles. No, that's not a credible candidate.
But is there?
So it seems like my man's in them Dan, that's Dan Crenshaw. His qualifications was saying that, yo, he has been in the Congress for that long, for a split second. And so because of that, he's not qualified and he need to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. That is what he's saying concerning Byron Donaldson not being qualified for it, okay? So here's another one of the media reaction. This is the media reaction to the speaker. Here's another one, guys. Here's another one, all right? So this is not just Republicans, okay? Not just Democrats. All right, here we go. Or the media. I would say, here we go. Okay, no, boom, got it.
McCarthy and his PACs to elect Republicans. You don't owe McCarthy anything for that. It's not McCarthy's money.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out.
Here we go.
What I think voters and Americans want to see from their politicians when they disagree is disagreement in good faith. You should stand for something. Right? If you're going to hold the line, you should stand for something. You should say, this is why I'm holding the line.
Okay.
But, you know as well as I do that when you ask these 20 holdouts, what are you holding the line for? They give you very vague statements. They say, well, it's to make this place work better. We're tired of the swamp. We're tired of the status quo. It's like they're on the campaign trail just screaming slogans that their consultants told them to say. Meanwhile, they're fundraising off of this. Everybody's getting fundraising emails from these people. And let me say this to the American public right now. Do not donate to these fundraising campaigns. They don't need the money.
All right, I'm going to get to later his first point about.
Okay. It's extremely clear that Dan Crenshaw doesn't like them at all, period. And we don't know the reasoning why. I have some assumptions of why. But I'm not going to give you my assumptions. No, we're going to operate by facts. Okay, by facts. And so with that being stated, guys, you kind of seeing the media reaction as well as the Republican reaction about what was going on. A lot of it was dysfunctional and chaos and things of that nature. This is not good for the Republic and all this as well. All right. So now again, let's go back to. Let's look at the definition, guys, again, of the word dysfunction, okay? We got to look at that again, guys. Go back to the definition. I'm a term and definitions guy, okay? Here we go. Let's look at this definition again. This is what it actually says. It says, and I'm going to use this one here, abnormal or unhealthy interpersonal behavior or interaction with a group. So it's abnormal and unhealthy. Well, last time I checked, an unhealthy type of exchange breeds a bad result, right? So if you sow an unhealthy type of fruit, you're going to get an unhealthy type of response. That's what's really going on here, all right? So no problem with it all. Now what happens, guys, is this here. During this exchange, you actually begin to see you have two of the main players when it comes to this speaker vote was Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. Well, they went on a show to talk about what Speaker McCarthy actually got in concessions. Okay, all right. Let's go see what they actually said here. All righty. Boom. Let's get it in with the people. Let's go get it. Let's see what they say. Boom.
Two guests, both instrumental in gaining concessions from newly minted Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Joining us now, Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Great to see both of you. Congressman Gaetz, how confident are you that the concessions that you guys ended up winning are enforceable and you can hold on to them for these next 2 years?
Just moments ago, we passed the rules for the 118th Congress, and those included the enforcement mechanism of the one-member motion to vacate. Now, I don't anticipate that we'll ever have to use that, but it gives us the opportunity to ensure that our goals regarding policy, procedure, and personnel are met. We're going to have votes on term limits, balanced budgets, internal enforcement of our immigration laws. None of those things would have happened if we had caved on Monday. But by getting these concessions and coming to a stronger place, the House is in a stronger position.
Now, here's how the Democrats are responding to the rules package just passed moments ago.
Okay.
These rules are not a serious attempt at governing. They're essentially a ransom note to America from the extreme right. You're still empowering the extremists Don't take my word for it. Let's go through their rules package. They're giving a single member the ability to remove the speaker at any time, letting a small far-right faction hold their leadership hostage.
That is the standard, I believe, when it comes to impeaching the president. Shouldn't that be the same when it comes to seating the speaker? Interesting.
Congresswoman, it's all your fault.
Apparently, that's usually what the Democrats like to say. But this empowers every individual member of Congress, even the Democrats. That single member motion to vacate is for them as well. These single subject legislation.
So that's key. Both sides can enact this, not just the conservative side. Let's go.
Pieces that we're going to see. This is something that we have in 47 state legislatures. To have it on a federal level is massive. So
this, that standard of one member being able to file a motion to vacate or remove a speaker is present in 47 states, but it's not when it comes to the federal level. Interesting.
So I'm proud that we took a few extra days to make sure that we get this right. It may look like chaos and dysfunction, but I'm a mom of 4 boys. That's a part of my everyday life. And really, last week was the most productive week I have experienced in Congress.
People really saw behind the curtain of what happens in Washington, stuff that I've been railing against for 25 years. These omnibus spending bills, nobody knows what's in them. It's just junk and the kitchen sink thrown in. Things that congressmen and senators don't want to be held accountable for. So you can't say you voted against border enforcement. What they say, Congressman Gates, is, oh, no, I just voted to keep the government open. That's essentially what they do, correct?
Weasel words. Yes, sir. Weasel words. Okay.
Well, and the whole sum of this movement was to ensure that never again would we be forced to take a vote on something like this omnibus legislation. And I actually think this will make Kevin McCarthy stronger as a speaker, because in negotiating with the Senate, he'll be able to say, I'm sorry, the House rules don't allow us to consider things that aren't germane or that don't comport to a single subject.
Yeah, make it better. Now, the issue of defense spending, I brought this up several times last week. That's always treated as the sacred cow. Can never touch defense spending, no matter how woke the Pentagon is, no matter how much scrutiny the Pentagon needs for its failures. We all support our men and women in uniform. But the idea that 55% of our discretionary budget can't be touched, those numbers don't add up with the cuts that you all want, correct? Unless you guys ultimately start thinking about cutting parts of the military.
We're certainly going to have to look at a number of things to get this budget to balance.
What's the number of things? You can't get away with that on the show. What number of things?
Many things that we're going to look at, but defense is
That's
certainly
the biggest
one of them.
number, isn't it?
It is. That is absolutely one of them, and we have a lot of defense hawks in the House of Representatives that are probably going to put up a fight for that. But we have to have a budget that actually balances, and that's what this
Congressman Gates on that.
Forward.
That's the defense issue. The hawks in the Republican Party and some of the Democrat Party are saying, no. You can't touch that. I heard the comments even tonight. You can't touch the defense. You're being irresponsible with national security. The Wall Street Journal had a very powerful piece today.
Interesting.
National security is at risk with what you guys did.
I represent the district that has the highest concentration of active duty military in the country, and we can defend this country and project power more efficiently and more effectively than we do. President Trump was the first president to demand an audit of the Pentagon, and they couldn't pass it.
He didn't cut defense
Well,
spending.
we got an audit, so we show where they fail to actually deliver on some of the authorities. And how about we start with Ukraine before we reduce what we do for our troops? I think it's a pretty easy.
Great. So now, guys. Okay. So the negotiation led to this. Okay, as you just saw the video there of Congressman Matt Gaetz and Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, they got the deal. So, Speaker of the House vote success. Kevin McCarthy is confirmed as the Speaker. He is now the Speaker of the House. Here we go. Let's go ahead and give him a little bit of praise for him actually winning. Here we go. All right, got to give it to him. Here we go. Boom.
Kevin McCarthy's nail-biting rise to Speaker of the House now sets Republicans on a path of combative showdowns over government spending, immigration, and entitlement programs. McCarthy's election as Speaker after the 15th vote in 4 days was filled with drama, confusion, and anger.
Yeah, in his speech, though, to lawmakers just last night, McCarthy insisted, though, the Republicans now will unite on issues that are impacting the entire country. Chris Wolf joins us live in studio tonight with what the Republican plan is and how the Democrats may respond to it. Hey, Chris.
Hello, Rick, MB. Securing the border, getting America back on track. These are the things the new Republican House Speaker outlined early this morning after a grueling, dramatic week of voting and political wrangling to secure his position.
Grueling.
And at the direction of the Republican conference, I advance the name of Kevin McCarthy as next Speaker of the House of the 118th Congress.
The next Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Kevin.
And so it's done. But many observers are now asking at what price Republican California Congressman Kevin McCarthy was finally elected House Speaker in a history-making post-midnight 15th vote early Saturday, overcoming hardline holdouts from his own ranks and tense moments on the floor where raw emotion boiled over. The development caps a chaotic week of voting and 11th-hour deal-making behind closed doors with nearly 24 far-right Republicans who are members of the House Freedom Caucus. Eager to confront President Joe Biden and the Democrats, McCarthy promised subpoenas and investigations. He credited former President Donald Trump for standing with him and for making late calls and, quote, helping get those final votes. The new House Speaker said he would repeal funding for 87,000 new IRS agents. He also said Congress will pass bills to fix the nation's urgent challenges.
From wide open southern borders to American last energy policies to woke indoctrination in our schools. Now, speaking of committees, we will hold the swamp accountable. From the withdrawal of Afghanistan to the origins of COVID, and to the weaponization of the FBI. Let me be very clear. We will use the power of the purse and the power of the subpoena to get the job done.
So now he's the Speaker of the House, and then also, guys, let's go. As you heard, Congress Matt Gaetz as well as Lauren Boebert, they actually passed the House rules. If we go back to the definition of dysfunction, all right, and the definition of representative democracy, let's go back to the definitions. Let's go back to definitions real quickly here of representative democracy real fast. Let's go ahead and read that thing for the people in the back row. Here we go. It says, representative democracy is a government system that creates an extra stage between public votes and law creation. Instead of voting for laws, citizens elect officials to craft, debate, and sign laws. The idea is that citizens trust those elected politicians to carry out the will of those that elected them. Now let's go to that word debate. Okay? We're back in that word debate now. All right, boom. Definition of debate. Here we go. It says, definition of debate says, the formal discussion of a motion before a deliberative body according to the rules of the parliamentary or governing procedure. And so what we were able to see, this is debate. Now, guys, let's go to the definition of dysfunction. Okay, dysfunction. Let's go there real fast. All right, let's go there. It says abnormal or unhealthy interpersonal behavior or interaction with a group. Okay. Now, let me kind of ask a question as you come back to me real quickly here, guys. All right. Was the speaker vote dysfunction or representative democracy in action? Here's my conclusion. It was representative democracy at work because it matches the definition. Matches the definition. You have procedures. You have representatives being sent to Washington because you have different districts throughout the nation's 400 plus districts. Each districts are filled with citizens or constituents. Those constituents have different points of views, different things that they want to see. So the constituents or citizens in that district elect a candidate to go up to, or representative to go up to Washington to act on the will of those constituents. Okay? So what I would say is this here is that was democracy at work. Was there? What did they get? What did they get? They got all this information. This is what they got, and then some. What did they get, guys? They got concessions. You get concessions with negotiation, debate. Okay? Dysfunction would not lead to a proper conclusion. If it was dysfunctional, this would have never happened at all. By the definition of the word dysfunction, what did they get for this negotiation or democracy being at work? Great. It says a promise for guaranteed votes on pet issues like a balanced budget amendment and term limits, a Texas border plan, and an end of all remaining coronavirus mandates and funding. Period. All right. Number 2, a new committee to investigate the alleged weaponization of the FBI against its political foes. The committee would be modeled on the Church Committee, which investigated U.S. intelligence agencies in 1975. It would have a budget comparable to the recent disbanded January the 6th committee. Okay. More single subject bills to allow members to vote on specific narrow issues instead of 1,000-page pork barrel behemoths. Okay. Number 4, a 72-hour window for members to read any new bill before it can be voted on. So reading bills. All right. And the last one, a promise to refuse any increase in the debt ceiling in the future, in the next federal budget agreement. Guys, if this was dysfunctional, how did they get those concessions? You got to answer that question, because debate, healthy debate, leads to concessions, to a negotiated deal being done, whether it be concessions on both sides, and a deal being ironed out and signed upon. Hello. Now, you may say, well, Dale, how do they know that they're actually going to do this? Well, the U.S. voted on the House rules, as you just heard Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert talk about. They passed those House rules, I believe, in one vote. If it was dysfunctional, that would have never happened. That's why I'm saying that this was representative democracy at work. I don't know about you. I like seeing what's going on and not stuff not going on behind the scenes. I love that. That's what I desire. That's a great thing to do. That's good leadership. Okay, that's transparency. All right, all right, guys. What is the Countermove, guys? Because this is called the Countermove podcast. So what's the Countermove? What's the solution? Well, number 1, I would say as far as constituents, moving forward, okay? Learn how your government operates. Be in the know, okay? Don't just blindly trust your representatives. Understand the process and the procedures, the structures. The devil is in the details, okay? It's in the details, guys. Know those details so you can ask good, proper questions. The one thing I got to give a hand clap of praise for when it came to Laura Ingraham, she said that what will happen is they will pass these big bills, and they'll say, well, no, I wouldn't vote for the pork. I was voting for to fund the government. Well, not necessarily, because the details say something different. So know how your government operates, be in the know, okay? The second countermove would be to be in regular communication with your representative. Don't just vote them in and then say, I'll let you. No. Apply pressure. Call them. Flood their phones. They work for you, the constituents. They work for us. We're paying their salary via the taxes that they're collecting. Okay? So hold them accountable, but with the right knowledge of how the government operates. Okay? All right? Here's the next one. Learn how to become more influential outside of just voting. Okay? You need to learn how to become more influential outside of voting. Why? Influence moves things. Influence changes minds. Influence gets things passed when you want them passed. Okay? So learn how to become more influential. I don't know what your context is. Understand how you're wired, what desires are, and begin to master your skill level to become more influential. Okay? And then the last thing here. Vote. Vote. Don't sit on the sidelines. Go out and vote. Okay? Don't be the one that just sits down and bitches and moans about what the government is doing and not doing. And then you're on the sidelines doing nothing. Go out there and vote, guys. All right? Get involved. Vote. All right? So if you could, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do you believe that this was a representative democracy at work or dysfunctional? Give me your thoughts. Comment below if you don't mind, guys. But guys, you know how I said all the time, before you leave and while you can, you see that thing that'll look better than you. Take the damn picture and give it to your mama then. Now holla at your partner.
Long live the king.